If there was ever an award for the most weird game or most out there game, Control would definitely win that award. What's up, guys? Veteran Gamer here, and today I'm reviewing Control Ultimate Edition on PlayStation 5. This game, which was originally released in 2019 and subsequently became a Game of the Year contender for that year, was a game that was far ahead of its time. This is a game that was next gen before next gen was even a thing. I say this because through my playthrough of this game, the visual fidelity as well as the amount of particle effects and destruction in the environment was way ahead of what was around in 2019, to the point where the console counterpart of this game for the PS4 and Xbox One suffered from significant frame rate issues as well as long load times. Thankfully, the Ultimate Edition running on a PlayStation 5 alleviates those problems. The load times are really quick. You get into a game really fast. The performance is buttery smooth. And the graphics overall is just one heck of a presentation that you gotta play it. It is weird, it is out there, but you gotta play it. The thing is, with like many other titles on PlayStation 5, this game features two fidelity settings. It has the fidelity and the performance. One thing to make note, that between both modes, the resolution does not change. What does change is that in fidelity, you play at 30 frames per second with ray tracing turned on. This game was clearly designed with ray tracing in mind, as multiple environments are deliberately shiny and reflective. I was amazed. Like, in terms of the incorporation of ray tracing, this game is one of the best uses of ray tracing that I've personally seen thus far. Unfortunately, being a third-person shooter and playing it at 30 frames, it kind of enters diminishing return, where because the action is so fast-paced and frenetic and there's just a lot going on screen, you only really truly appreciate the ray tracing when you slow down. If you're not slowing down and you're in the middle of a firefight, you're going to be sacrificing precision and just overall smooth gameplay for a visual presentation that you only see half the time. So throughout my playthrough, I played predominantly on performance mode, where the game does away with the ray tracing but runs 60 frames per second, which to me was a dream for this game. As I stated, the resolution goes unchanged, so it runs at a native 1440p upscaled to native 4K. But obviously the best part about this game isn't the graphics or the destruction of the environments, which are a great part. It's the gameplay. This gameplay is absolutely fantastic. The progression system, as you see on screen, is simplistic. It's straightforward. You get skill trees and points to upgrade your health and your energy bar, as well as materials that are used to upgrade your only weapon in the game, which is a pistol. But that pistol takes multiple forms, so you do earn materials to upgrade it, unlock the other forms, add more mod slots so you can augment your gun even further. But at the core, it's the combat system of this game that is, to me, the best selling point. Your gun, which doesn't actually need ammo, it replenishes ammo on its own, but it takes a little bit of time. Much in the same way, all your telekinetic powers all have an energy meter, and like your gun, needs to recharge. So throughout your playthrough, you're actually balancing shooting and telekinetic powers, and you're literally going back and forth. It's a balancing act that the user has to go through, because this game, although not overly difficult, it is challenging. Fortunately, for those who may find the game too challenging for their liking, they do have sliders in the game that make the game easier and that you can cater to your playstyle. The other thing about this game is that the campaign, it is a straightforward campaign. It's about 10 hours or so long to finish it, but it's very weird. The story is very weird. It's hard to follow, so you really need to be paying attention. This game also, when it comes to the story, has lots and lots of reading when it comes to exploring the lore. So if you choose to not read the books and the little notes that are left around the world, you're going to be missing out on story content and be kind of a little more confused than you would be if you actually read everything. The one thing that I was actually blew me away the most And I guess because maybe I had low expectations, or maybe it was because I thought that this game, originally being released in 2019, they would cheap out on this version. But they use the DualSense controller effectively well. I mean, the vibration, every single step that your character takes, you feel it on your controller. And the intensity of that vibration will vary depending on what surface she's actually stepping on. On top of this, the adaptive triggers are also used very well for the trigger pulls, right? So that obviously you can have it where there's a tension every time you pull the trigger for every time you shoot. For some people, this may be annoying. Thankfully, there is in-game sliders that allow you to adjust both the intensity of the vibration as well as the adaptive triggers to your liking. You can even turn it off outright if that's what tickles your fancy. I prefer playing with it on. I did find that I dialed down the triggers a little bit, but I was just surprised that they even went this far with using the DualSense controller the way they did. I thought for sure it would have, if anything, been a little bit of a vibration and no haptic feedback for the triggers. But clearly they went full blown with the controller and how to utilize its features, which is a big plus for me. This is a game that was released in 2019. As stated, it was a Game of the Year contender that year, and it was well deserved. I loved this game. I loved it more than I thought I was going to love it. I only actually have one real complaint personally, and that is the ending. The ending to this game, in my opinion, it falls a little flat. As I stated earlier, there's a lot of reading that needs to be done to truly explain the lore of the game. And if you don't do that, you're also missing out. The other issue, again, I didn't have this issue, but as I stated multiple times, this is a very weird and out there kind of game where for some people who can't get into science fiction, they may be off-put by how weird and out there this game is. But to me, that's all subjective. The only one that really irked me the most was the ending. As I stated, it was a little flat. Like the ending kind of just comes at you, and then you're just like, that's it. That's the ending. They don't even. It doesn't give you the proper closure that you were expecting. Now maybe that's because there's a sequel. Maybe there isn't. But aside from this, Control Ultimate Edition, this release is perfect for anyone who missed out on it. And if you missed out on Control originally, this is the best time to play it, especially on the new hardware. The game runs like a dream. If you've played it previously, then there's no real reason to jump on this game unless, of course, you're that big of a fan and you want to play it the way it was meant to be played. As stated, I played most of my playthrough in 60 frames, and it was a dream. I've spoken to people who played it on previous gen consoles. Their performance was a little rough, so it's happy to know that this was a much better performing game, and this is next gen at its finest. To me, Game of the Year candidate was definitely well deserved in 2019. Unfortunately, I don't think it deserves it this year because it is just the same game, just updated with its performance. But it's still worth picking up if you never picked it up before. It's currently free on PlayStation Plus. I'm giving Control Ultimate Edition a 9.5 out of 10.